You can now watch your favorite radio shows all in one place. From Golick and Wingo.
Oh, yeah.
To the Dan Levitard Show with Stugotz.
All right, I'm available every day, thanks.
To the Stephen A. Smith Show.
I just don't understand this guy.
To the Will Kane Show.
It's my job to tell the truth.
From morning to night, the best of ESPN Radio is now available on ESPN News.
This Sunday, you can browse desirable homes that are on the market in your price range and desired neighborhood. Get a detailed map by picking up a copy of this week's issue of Gulf Breeze News. Register at each home for a chance to win a beautiful prize basket. The more homes you visit, the better your chances to win. Gulf Breeze News Open House Sunday is sponsored by University Lending, Cat Country 98.7, ESPN Radio, and News Radio 92.3, AM 1620. For details, visit online at gulfbreezenews.com.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Golick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
And welcome into Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I'm Chad Brillante. Glad to be with you here as always, as we have a lot to get to on today's show. JP on the road right now, heading to Mobile, doing a great job as he's been covering the Senior Bowl for us. Justin, Davis, all the crew here. We were down here actually today at Blue Wahoo Stadium. They had a great event for the kids and really taking advantage of those opportunities. Van Jefferson from the Florida Gators, Anthony Jennings from Alabama, a lot of players down there learning some of the techniques, UWF players as well. And joining us now from the NFL sidelines, right here to the ESPN Pensacola studios, Coach K. Stevenson. Coach, it is always a pleasure to catch up with you, and we got the Pro Bowl and Senior Bowl, but then Super Bowl right around the corner as well.
You bet. A lot going on, Chad. Always good to be with you, with our audience out there.
When it comes down to the I want to ask this because as a head coach, times have changed a lot because of this, and I'm holding up a cell phone right now for the people out there. Because everybody can see everything, people can't get away with a lot. What happened in the 70s and 80s, Lord have mercy, I'm sure for a lot of those players, if people could videotape every place they were. But when it comes down to that, you can't get away from much. Kareem Hunt, who's been in trouble, he was cited for speeding, found weed in his car, more of a story. He was given another opportunity, a second chance after what happened there with the video that surfaced of him pushing the girl over, lost his job in Kansas City, then got a job over in Cleveland, was actually serviceable for the Browns this year when he was on the field. But the question I have for you as a coach, and times have changed, you don't have to coach in 2020, but what would be advice you would give the players during the offseason? Because to tell them, hey, just lay low, don't do anything, stay in your home, they're not going to listen to that. You got to give them a realistic answer. But what would be the number one advice as a head coach you would give these players to maybe a life you can't relate to every single day, partying and popping bottles, but when it comes down to their decisions for the 2021 season ahead?
Chad, that's one of the great questions, the great mysteries of our business, of our industry. If we had a magic answer for that, had a magic pill, oh, what a great organization we would have. You can't babysit all the time. You try to do it as much as you can, but you can't with these people. They're grown men, and they're entrenched in their culture. And the cultures vary. They differ. from player to player. What did they grow up with? People they grew up with, the mores and standards that they accept, and some that they don't really pay any attention to, and all those things play a part. I always tried to sit down and have a chat with them, with all of them, and then individually, eyeball to eyeball, try to explain to them, tell them that if they needed anything at all, if there is a reason to need to go somewhere or do something, rather than doing it on the spur of the moment and doing it in the wrong way, give us a call. We'll help you. In fact, we'll send somebody to help you if you need help. We've gone that far. So I don't know how much further we could go, because it's just gotten to the point that now listen, years ago, we want to say, well, years ago things were different. Things were different in different ways, though. But you still had some people that would get way out of line, and with whether it's drinking or instigating trouble. You still had some of those guys around. So to say that it's gone from just the pure athlete to insanity is not the case, but it's a different kind of look today. The problems are different. They look a little different. So to answer your question, the best thing we can do is try to head it off as best we can and offer to do whatever we can to help them. And if they're going to be insistent about doing something that's going to get them in trouble, then you got no choice. They just have to pay the price. And they have to pay the price, otherwise all of them would go down that path. Or a great many, I shouldn't say all of them, a great number of them would go down that path. If you don't make it harsh enough that they understand, hey, this could be the end of my career, or this could be something that would tarnish me the rest of my life or whatever. Anyway, you have to make it severe enough that it detracts from that type of life.
Yeah, there's so many. It's a convoluted project to answer. Maybe you have a situation where you have a bunch of 19 to 21-year-old kids that were just given $30-40 million sometimes in signing bonuses, and now they've gotten more money. They're used to having $100 in ramen noodles from their bank account and in their cupboard, to now having a chance to have more money than anybody can dream of. And not all of them make the responsible decision. Some decide to go out and party and do what they want with their money, and they say, it's mine. I worked hard to get here. I'm the athlete. I'm the one that got here. But I always like asking those questions, Coach, to you because of the situation where, as a football fan, it's not every day that people get to sit with an NFL coach that had those decisions to be made. And I know times have changed, but I was wondering about allocating it out where will the wide receiver coaches check in on the wide receivers weekly, daily? Do the running back coaches? Do people check in? College football is a little different. It's more in the NFL, you sort of let people be people. They're adults. They're responsible. But you also don't want to lose your star player because he's an idiot and he ends up punching a guy at a club during one of the concerts when you could have said, hey, you know what? You probably don't want to go into this atmosphere. It's going to be a little crazy tonight.
Well, let me give you some of the safeguards just to follow up on the question. No, you cannot treat these kids like college kids. In college, it's more of a glorified babysitting job to some extent because you do have to watch them every minute. You got classes they have to go to. They can't skip. They have to enforce study hall rules. Yeah, and all the other things that you have to do in college that you promised mom and dad you would do for their son if they came there. But you don't have to do that. You can't do that in pro football. What you can do is you can ask each coach to, in addition to what the head coach would talk to them about, each individual coach to be sure that they let them know, hey, here's my number. Here's my phone number. The other thing that we did, every city had what they called off-limit places. Usually they were bars or certainly casinos if they had them, but bars that notorious people frequented and so we would have checks into those places to make sure that our people weren't there. Also, the NFL checked, because if they caught them there, it was a fine, NFL fine, easily determined as conduct detrimental to the league if you're caught in a bar where they're known mobsters hang out. Okay, you can't have that. You can't have that persona. You can't have that picture floating around. So the NFL was very cognizant of that, and they were up on it, as well as the teams. You didn't want one of your players suspended because he violated NFL rules, nor did you want the temptation there for him. So we would have people there, and if we caught somebody in a place, then we'd have private meeting with them. Not too often did you do that, because they were all aware the NFL was watching.
And they are. They're watching more than ever right now. And so if there was evidence of anything wrongdoing about some ridiculous sideline videotapes, they would know, for everybody out there still on that subject, that we moved on to the second we saw it. But when it comes down to what's going on here for the Super Bowl, Coach, do you like the whole 2 weeks? Once again, it's a money kind of thing. They get more time, more people could travel, the more hype. Look, commercials right now, I always joke. I said, I know Doritos makes a lot of money. I know that Mountain Dew makes a lot of money. But $4.3 million per 30-second spot is a lot of Doritos, and it's a lot of Mountain Dew, where you could skip maybe 30 seconds to show one of those crazy car commercials, or Taco Bell are the ones they do. But I want to say, it's obviously for that kind of price, it's all about the TV revenue and having 2 weeks of hype and everything going into it. But do you like, from a football standpoint, the 2 weeks we have in between games?
No, I don't. I don't like it. I did not like the college setup this year. I thought college was very, very expensive from a competitive standpoint and so on. Now, I don't like the NFL lag there in time, but it is such a big event. I can understand the Super Bowl because it is such a big event, and the preparation has to be made, and the logistics of putting everything in place from the time that they know who's going to be in there, which is 2 weeks prior to the game, to game time, necessitates that much time just to get it done and to get the reservations made for all of the people that are going to be there. Now, you say, well, that's from team to team. No, the NFL has tons of people, big contributors and sponsors that they treat like royalty, chartered airplanes and all of that they're moving from place to place and moving in. It's a big to do, and they and TVs want the time as well, because they have to place crews, they have to place all types of equipment, and it's a logistical nightmare.
LA Rams, one of your teams right there, and the San Francisco 49ers are the only two teams that have fallen into place where they actually were able to play the Super Bowl in the stadium that was hosted by them. And it's cool. I mean, a couple years ago, Santa Clara, California had the Super Bowl. San Francisco's in it this year. There's going to be nobody out of Miami. Lord knows, when they looked at the schedule this year, they were in a safeguard not to have a home team there. But if it does fall in that, is that just everything that the NFL is aware of, and it's, everybody's equal opportunity to get that? Or do teams, if you're in the north, like Buffalo and Kansas City, knowing that you don't have that shot, do you feel like that you're at a disadvantage, or you don't need to be going down? To me, it's almost petty, but I can see teams in the North not having a chance, because only about 6 or 7 stadiums have a chance to host the Super Bowl based on they're a dome, they're a big enough venue to draw the interest. Buffalo's not going to host the Super Bowl. Do you feel that you're at a disadvantage knowing that you'll never get a chance, even if you got there, to have home field?
No, people are well aware of the fact that you're going to put on something like that is the largest sporting event, certainly in this country, all year by a long shot, and now has become a national holiday. What if you had the thing in Cleveland, and you had one of those
snow flurries,
lake effect snows that you can't even see the field?
I think the Niners would like that for Mahomes this week. But
anyway, no, they're aware. People are aware. We can't have it in Buffalo or Cleveland or or even New England or any place like that. You gotta put the game where it is most. It gives the most to the spectator and those that are going to attend, and also for the players. Well, if you're the you want a big show. And quarterbacks are a big part of the show. You want a dome or good weather stadium where you don't have to worry about the wind and the rain and the snow and whatever. So in that time of year, you got to be especially careful. And not to mention, Chad, all of the travel and the moving around of all that has to be moved. You want the best possible weather. Yeah.
As we do some X's and O's here with the coach inside the huddle right here, getting answers from only an NFL coach can give you on the sidelines, inside the huddle, things like that to get ready for the big game. You can call in as well, 850-623-1330 as well, and win a chance right here. The game's tomorrow, but you can win some tickets to the Senior Bowl as well, the big event going down at Lab People Stadium tomorrow afternoon. Give us a call, 850-623-1330. You can also ask any of the questions during the offseason with Coach K right here. Coach, Jerry Rice wants to warm up with the 49ers. This is another question that sort of is – you're stuck between a rock and a hard place on this one. He's a legend, maybe the greatest receiver of all time to many. And when you look, though, Kyle Shanahan's got a job to do, too. Like, they grew up, though, probably watching guys. He was around the sidelines with his dad, Mike. But you look up to your legends. Not to say I ever would, but if there was a guy my age like a Sean McVay that got a coaching job, we look up to Jerry Rice's when we watched him as kids. But you also don't want him to steal the show. We saw what happened with Odell when he went down that path with LSU last week, getting him in trouble. As a head coach, your decision, if you're in Buffalo or you're in L.A. and, took a team to the Super Bowl and then you got another one of the legendary guys from before coming back there and wants to warm up or sort of take, sort of not asking for your authority, just sort of, hey, I'm part of this greatness. Let me take my time in the sun as well. What do you as a head coach? Because that's got to be a tough thing, too, knowing you don't want to piss off a guy who's a legend, but also it's your team, and you got a job to do.
I think it's, in the first place, I don't think they should be asking for any time at that point. Okay? Now, certainly they want it because they want that publicity at that point. They want to be recognized, and it gives them longevity with the fans out there. But for somebody to impose themselves into that situation is terribly wrong. If they just show up, let's say a team has we want 25 of our previous players to show up and stand along the sideline with us and whatever, that's a different thing. That's totally acceptable and understandable. But usually that doesn't happen at a Super Bowl. You ever thought about that?
Yeah.
The reason why is you don't need that distraction or any other distraction other than getting ready to play football. So you just eliminate anything and everything, and they need to understand that, and they don't need to be there jumping all over people and whatever. It's not their day. Their day is gone.
Coach, you've dedicated your life to your family and football. And football, I know on the weekends when we talk about it, I know that you watch the games and talk to some of the former players and really live and breathe this sport that has given you so much, but also has been part of your life for so long as a player and a coach. When you look at the Pro Bowl, though, look, it's my favorite sport. Being from family from Boston, that NFL was always my thing. Boston College fans up there, they just remember Doug Flutie from '85. They don't really care much about what's going on right now with the Dazio these days. But I will say what's been happening around the NFL, we all sort of just sometimes, if you have a big family and you have that uncle that's horrible and you're like, that's Uncle Ernie, but it still doesn't make it right that this guy comes and he's a horrible person. Same thing with the Pro Bowl. To me, it's the NFL is the best league to me. It's always been my favorite. But the Pro Bowl is the worst event of the major off-season type all-star festivities. I love Major League Baseball, the Home Run Derby. I love NBA when they do the slam dunk contest and those. I don't like the Pro Bowl. But is there any way to fix that? Because really in a game that's all about physical attributes, When you take that out of the game, which is truly the Pro Bowl, you're not going to get the same product, even if you have the names and the brand on the back of the jersey.
I don't like it. I agree with you. I don't like it at all. I coached 1 year in the Pro Bowl. We had the NFC the year coaching with the Rams, and it was entirely different. They played hard. They played very hard. In fact, I was talking just a couple of days ago on this show about we looked out there, and Walter Payton was out there going down on kickoffs and punts because he wanted to win so badly, and felt that he could do a better job than somebody else out there. So, I mean, that's the type attitude they used to have. They were seriously involved in the ball game and what happened. That's not the case anymore. And you shouldn't play the game if you're not going to play it the way it's supposed to be played. It is when you start trying to come up with a hybrid for a great game like football, you have to be kidding yourself. And that's what it is. It's not good. I wish they could do either get rid of it or do it in another way.
Well, looking at some of the guys as the Pro Bowl is this weekend, we'll keep you posted. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff in Orlando at Camping World Stadium, and it'll be on Sunday. You have the opportunity to watch the guys out there, quarterbacks, some of the notables, Lamar Jackson, guys like Deshaun Watson. Patrick Mahomes was, but Ryan Tannehill will replace him. The quarterbacks for the NFC, some of the guys to watch out for as well, will be Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers. But Rodgers will be replaced right there with Kirk Cousins. So some of the guys out there, Dalvin Cooks, Christian McCaffrey's, your usual suspects. We know. If you watch football this season, you know the guys to watch. When we come back, we'll get some more on the big events coming up this week. We'll also talk some more as we get into the Senior Bowl week and open up the phone lines. The playbook is open for you, 850-623-1330, right here on Talk Football with Coach K.
Attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Hey, are you just gonna stand there and let people not give you credit for being a good driver? You deserve discounts on car insurance, and that's what Snapshot from Progressive is for. So why aren't you signing up? You need music to get pumped? Hit it! Drum solo! Ow, that hurts my fingers. Ow, ow.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents. Tomorrow, critics everywhere are raving about The Gentleman.
Make way for the king.
It's a triumphant return to the gangster comedy and a hell of a lot of fun. This is the best cast you'll see in a movie this year, starring Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Henry Golding, Michelle Dockery, Jeremy Strong, with Colin Farrell and Hugh Grant.
Oh, it's warming up now, isn't it?
Critics proclaim The Gentleman is a must-see in a theater kind of film. The Gentleman, rated R, under 17, not permitted without parent, in theaters tomorrow.
The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh my gosh, that's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk that compelling moron. He's nothing but a lame-headed old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cowturd.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
This is Fred Levin at Levin Papantonio, and I listen to Coach K and football almost every day, and I wish everybody happy holidays.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, alongside the former NFL coach, Kay Stevenson. Has a lot to get to as football, when it comes to the NFL winding down, the Super Bowl a week away, the Pro Bowl this week. Take it for what it is on Sunday. We got the Senior Bowl in action right down the road in Mobile. It was a good day down at Blue Wahoo Stadium. Coach got to see a couple former players. Van Jefferson. I thought Florida, from a receiving core, the two of the bigger players down there, Van Jefferson, wide receiver from Florida, and also Anthony Jennings, linebacker from Alabama. But I think one of the things with Van Jefferson, it's really hard to know how good a guy is going to be at the next level when you're situated in a team where you've got so many different weapons. And I think Florida, they didn't have one guy. If you said who was Florida's best receiver, it'd be tough because you could say Van Jefferson, the youngster here from Pine Forest, and Escambia, Jacob Copeland had a pretty solid, but he's still young. Your tight end probably has the biggest ceiling when it comes to what he's been able to do as a tight end for the Florida Gators. But I will say overall, there was so many guys across the board. John Hammond, everybody that had, not John Hammond, but Hammond had a great career as well, that you can't really just pick one guy. But good to see Van Jefferson. He's got a lot of upside on that team as well. And Pitts is the guy I'm thinking of right now as the tight end. Just slip me for a second.
Yeah, I think Florida had a nice core of receivers. I think they'll be better next year. Quite frankly, with the ones coming back, and I understand they recruited at least one highly recruited, highly regarded receiver. That'll help, and tremendous speed. So if they're lacking anything, in the way of speed, taking the top off the defense, they'll have that available to them. I understand that Justin Herbert is looking very, very sharp over here at the Senior Bowl, quarterback from Oregon. Going to be a lot of quarterbacks in the draft this year. You stop and think about it. You got Burrow far and away the cream of the crop, but you have Tua, who closely I think follows behind him, and you've got Fromm, and you've got Justin Herbert, and you've got Eason from Washington. You have the big kid that's also looking good over there from Utah, who's kind of coming out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. A lot of possibilities there. Now, not all of them are going to be great NFL quarterbacks. They'll be lucky if they get out of the group. If they get two, that'll be a gold mine. But there could be some there that could be very serviceable quarterbacks for many years.
Now, when you got a quarterback, I've been reading up, and I'm not one of these guys we got National Signing Day around the corner, but early signing period takes a lot of, I guess you could say, the intensity of that day away because people can sign. Even though the letter of intent, that's sort of the deadline. Look, the transfer portal, we know people are always switching around. People decommit a lot today. It's sort of you're waiting and seeing until that final minute. But there's some guys that you really don't expect to fail. And, we heard a lot about Trevor Lawrence. We heard a lot about Tua, guys like that. We didn't know they were going to be legendary status when it came to that. Look, Joe Burrow wasn't a 5-star recruit coming out. He had to work his way into what he is. But there's a guy, and it's going to be the next Tua, where Tungavaloa was not fun for any of us trying to pronounce his name for a couple months. DJ Uiagalelei, the big guy. I'm not sure if you heard of him. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. He has his Hawaiian ties, his hometown, Bellflower, California as well. He's at St. John's Bosco out there. And this guy, from what I've seen, and I don't usually say this about a high school kid, but he's the size of Patrick Mahomes. He's got the skill set where he can run and just throw ropes downfield. He's a 5-star guy that everybody wanted, number 1 ranked guy, pro style. Clemson's got him, and he's heading to Clemson. But if you know a guy like that, the writing is on the wall. Coach, is it a bad move to start to maybe build around the style of quarterback that you're about to bring in? If you're going to, even as a guy that hasn't stepped on campus, to sort of say, you know what, let's start to build for the future around this guy. Is that a bad idea?
No, it's not a bad idea because usually that benefits everybody. What you have to be careful of is what's the state of your football team right now, and what does this year mean to you? And if this year also gives you a chance to get into the playoffs or have a great year, and it's expected of you, and you have the people there to have a good year, then you got to forget about. I shouldn't say forget about because you're always going to have that on your mind looking ahead, but you've got to put your best foot forward on helping this year's football team, regardless of what it is. It may not be that guy for next year. It may be somebody else. It may be a big tight end. It may be a big offensive lineman. It may be a big defensive lineman. It's whatever you need to get over the hump. You better take care of getting over the hump if you got a chance to get there. And that's always the case. But it certainly doesn't hurt if you have the opportunity and it fits both right now and the future. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, and usually that's the case on an outstanding football player, a good athlete, is that it helps anybody and everybody at any time.
As expected, after visiting the White House, winning the national title, 15-0, the shirt's printed with his face on there for Edo. Coach Orgeron, he was making $4 million. That was good for 30th in the nation. Well, he got a nice raise as a 6-year contract worth more than $42 million in compensations. Right there has been added, reported by Bruce Feldman this morning. But when you look right now, he's going to be around about $7 million per season, which would put him in the top 5. After one season, though, based on the list that I see, I would say I'm going to answer and say yes. But do you feel that's justified to make him a top 5 paid coach?
In relationship to everyone else, and there's an old axiom which is so true: you're only worth what the market will bear.
Yes,
and that is the case here. If anybody deserves it, I think Coach O does.
Well, it's going to be a true test year, Coach, too, because he lost a lot of people that wanted to give Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator, or Joe Brady all the credit, which isn't fair in any organization because the head coach still makes the final decisions.
He had to put all that together.
Yes, and keep his players. He had to keep them on the field. He made sure that they were disciplined, made sure they went to class. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say that, but what if Joe Burrow ends up cheating on a test 2 weeks before? That goes to the coach, and that's on him. And he would have taken the negativity, but he also needs to be credited for keeping everybody stable in that.
Sure.
Right? It's not easy to do in LSU and Baton Rouge, I'll tell you that much,
dating
back to the Honey Badger and some of those stories. But when it comes down to the other coaches around him, Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban, look, the other two in this, the top 5, Jim Harbaugh and Jimbo Fisher. And right now, Ed Orgeron deserves to get paid just as much as those guys do or more.
Yeah, he deserves what he's getting, and I don't think there's any problem with that, any question about it. It's a lot of money, and there are people that justifiably question whether they should be making that much money. But let me tell you, there was a study done on Saban, the money he's making in Alabama. And from the time before he got there to now, and what it has meant to the University of Alabama. When I say the university, I'm talking about every school at the University of Alabama. That is a small pittance. If they took a percentage of what he has meant since being there to the university, this would be a small percentage of what he's brought the University of Alabama. Now, people can debate that. They can say what they want, but these were legitimate statistics. And I think what Coach O has done at LSU will be a very similar type justification.
They said based on this, and this is a firm, somebody that has one of those big seats probably in New York City that does this for a living. they throw out. Analyst Joyce Julius said that based on the numbers, they found out during the last 2 months, LSU was mentioned 150,000 times across TV, internet, print, media, and more. That was free publicity. They said based on that alone, the characters exceed over $200 million in free advertising. So based on that, to give a guy a little bit of a raise, not bad.
Now that's one criterion, but what about the money that now flows into the school?
Well, they get money too from the SEC.
Sure, but to the athletic department, I mean, listen, Frank Broyles, wonderful man, and a great coach
at Arkansas.
Icon at out in that part of the country at Arkansas. He's like Barry Bryant at Alabama. But he told me one time we had gone down to South Arkansas. We were on a plane, the school plane flying back to Fayetteville, and he was telling me. He said, it's amazing to me the people at Auburn and Alabama at each other, and they say, I don't want the other team to win a ball game, and Florida State, and Mississippi State, and whatever. He said, I'd give anything to have a rival. He said, let me tell you what's happened. Since we left the Southwest Conference, the old Southwest Conference, their big rivalry every year was with Texas. In fact, they played for the national championship 2 years, Texas and Arkansas, when Nixon came to the game. But the monies that they got, and he said it would be from, God bless them, farmers would come in still in their overalls where they'd been out plowing the fields, and they'd come in with money in envelopes to give to the athletic department to help us go beat Texas. But it was Texas, always Texas. Once we lost Texas as a rivalry and went to the Southeastern Conference, our monies stopped, a good deal of the money stopped coming in. It was costing him, I think, $1.5 million or $2 million a year to use a marketing firm out of Dallas to help provide a rivalry between Arkansas and LSU, because that was the nearest SEC team at the time. So take it for what it's worth. Let me tell you that there's a lot of money that flows into a school because people want to see success, and they want to see success in the most visible way. What's the most visible way a university is portrayed? Now, it's hard for some of these professors to understand that. It's not the chemistry class, and it's not the math class. It is the football team.
It is, and it always will be. Look, what I've talked to yesterday. We had Coach Jeff Burkhammer, UWF basketball coach, on the show, and I talked about the impact it's already made with football. Them winning a national title, even at a Division II level. People around this area, there's kids that go to Pine Forest and Gulf Breeze and all over that want to be part of a national championship football team. And some of them, I hope that you're picking school for academics. If you're going there for academics, I hope that you make that choice. I hope you sit down with your parents or somebody and you make that right choice. Let me get that first off the table. But having a national championship to your name does resonate with the community.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not a bad thing at all to have, and it brings in a lot of money. And beating your rival, look, we know whether people want to admit or not, the day Willie Taggart left, David Coburn and the group, they weren't planning on getting rid of Willie Taggart until the final day. When you lose that badly to another rival like Miami, embarrassed at home, people stepped in and said, we're done here. I mean, you had people with a lot of money and big pockets that said, we're not getting embarrassed by the team. And they don't – look, Florida and Florida State have a rivalry. Florida State and Miami, and you know, Coach, you lived in the neck of the woods right there for a long time. They despise each other.
Oh, yeah.
And when you get embarrassed by Miami in your own backyard, no wide rights, but a game that was pretty much embarrassed, and then Miami turns around and doesn't even score a point in their bowl game, it's time for somebody to go. We already knew it was time for him to go. That was the tipping point. So from what Frank said about the rivalries, it's huge to the school's finances and everything going forward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, by the way, I want to mention real quick, I know we got to go to break. We've got a hard break coming here. But for all of you out there, Paul Feinbaum is going to be on our show next Wednesday at 12:10, 12:15. But if you have questions or you have comments or you want to get across to Paul while he's on the show, get them into us either by phone or by text. You can text to this number, and we'll make that happen. In the meantime, be sure and let your friends know that Paul's going to be on.
It's going to be exciting. Always having the Mouth of the South. You can hear today at 2 o'clock, following right here after Stephen A. Smith. Coming back for more, it's Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
In winning teams, every player brings their unique strength and has an impact on the results. For the Auburn Tigers on November 30th, 2013, it was Chris Davis. Tied at 28, Alabama came up short on a 57-yard potential game-winning field goal. Davis returned the missing field goal 109 yards for the winning score.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
You wouldn't draft a linebacker to play as your quarterback, right? It's the same thing as when you're going to hire your next teammate. LinkedIn will match the right talent with your open roles fast. Post a job and you'll get great candidates with the right mix of skills, interests, and experience. So every hire you make is a win for your business. Go to linkedin.com/sports and get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports. linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Geico presents yet another voicemail from your roommate.
Hi. So, about the kitchen. Turns out when there's a grease fire, you're not supposed to throw water on it. Who would have known, right? Anyways, the fire department is here and it's totally cool. Give me a call back when you get a chance.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if danger is your roommate's middle name. Visit geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. After a week of bronchitis, I've had worse, but fought through the pain. Some of the not too much pain, just taking the medication. I want to say, Coach, I almost feel like bronchitis would be a great time to play football because you already feel like you're getting hit in the chest every play anyway. So you're adding fuel to the fire. You're already feeling like it's like playing in the cold. You don't even know that your hands are getting hit because they're so numb. You don't even know what's going on right there. But
no, you don't want to have bronchitis to play football.
I know. No, probably you could see the guy legging. Hey, 20, 10. Why is he slowing down? But I'll tell you right now, looking at the teams coming forward for next season, and it's going to be an exciting year. You talked about some of the star recruits. We just talked about the guy, DJ Ayu Galele, the guy that just won the Polynesian Player of the Year, 5-star recruit, 6'5", 250, has that Patrick Mahomes style. Great release. You just saw his release. Looks good.
Yeah.
But the Brock Vandergrift guy from Georgia. Georgia has been that team forever. We did a show yesterday on the Sports Drive about teams in sports that they're due. That it seems like forever they're that close, but they always find a way to slip up at the end. And Georgia has been that team. Think about how many times in the last 5 years they've had a chance to win the national title, and they have 0. Think about how many of those Mark Richt teams were very close to being elite, but they never were. It seems like it's been 20 years. You have to date back to Herschel Walker since the last time that they won something. And I look right now at that team, and from what you were talking about, the reports, if you get that true freshman, we had 2 true freshmen back-to-back before Joe Burrow, in Tua and Trevor Lawrence, who won national titles. So a true freshman can step in with an elite roster. And one thing Kirby Smart can do is recruit with the best of them. If that 5-star and Brock Vandergrift comes in, that could be something special. And I know that he's getting high praise right now.
Yeah, he is. In fact, it looks like he will be the Georgia quarterback in 2021. And he's just supposed to be one of the exceptional quarterbacks to ever come along. I mean, they go on and on and on about him. And what I heard through the grapevine is he's not too far from that he's very good. He's a very good quarterback. Their praise is certainly understandable. But both teams, Clemson and Georgia, they've got their quarterbacks of the future.
Well, and not only that, when people see, let's be honest with all that today, when you got a guy that good, you got nutritionists, you've got agents, you've got everybody, you got assistants, you got trainers that all are trying to, like the old remora, my dad said, suckerfish. I remember I caught a bonita one time. I was so happy. It took me like an hour to catch it on the boat. I got it on the boat, and my dad just chucked it back off. And I was like, what the? And he said, we don't keep that fish. You can't eat it. But I remember, the remora fish that suck on, they latch onto the other fish so they can get it. Pretty much, you got 100 remoras out there when you get a 5-star that good because everybody wants to be it. So he's already getting the type of stuff that NFL caliber type players are getting treatment from or at least advice on that most 17, 18-year-old kids down here that are trying to go to meal plan and running down the hallway to get pizza, they don't get that same type of advice. Yeah. So the development of these kids, you can say they're young, but they're also getting trained at that early age to be developed into what they can be in the future.
Yeah, in many cases they are. Some not always, but in most cases, you're right. They do get special treatment.
Coach, looking right now at this game, let's talk. We're going to have all week next week, but you can never spend enough time on the Super Bowl when it comes to it and the big game, as license reasons we'll call it for commercials. But when it comes down to the game itself, I will say this is going to be very, very intriguing. Were you surprised, though, when you saw that 1.5 line? Because you talked to Danny Sheridan on the show yesterday, one of the guys that helps make the lines. USA Today is well known, probably the most known as when it comes to line making around the country. A lot of people don't want to be known, but they get paid a lot. I know that. When it comes down to this game, though, were you surprised to see Kansas City as a favorite by 1.5 points, even if it was 1 point?
Somewhat surprised, just from the standpoint of my personal evaluation. I'm not surprised that the public's been handed a great line on Mahomes. Now, he's a good quarterback. I've got a lot of respect for what he's done, and he's certainly got a strong arm, all that. But the kid is he's finishing his second year, and Garoppolo is still a young, unproven totally quarterback like a Brady or some of the Breeze or some of the others. But a little surprised, I guess you could say. I think San Francisco, when I look at both teams, we'll be breaking this down. Certainly next week we'll be breaking it down. But when you go from special teams to defense to offense, I just see San Francisco as having the most talented team maybe in the National Football League. And number one in defense, and you're going into the big game, and your defense is the best in football. Tell me that's not a big chit in your pocket, right? I mean, you got a big one right there when that defense is what it is, and they can run the football. They've proven that. Now, in this ball game, they will have to do more and be more balanced, and Garoppolo will certainly lend more to their offense than the 8 passes he threw in the last game. Didn't have to throw any more than that. Didn't have to do anything. You're kicking them terribly. You just, there even big chump plays were runs. They were breaking off runs 30, 35, 40 yards long. Why would you have to throw the ball? So, but it'll be a little different. But look at what they can do. Look at the talent. Look at what they can do. When just a good example, Chad, is look at their defensive front and their ability to rush the passer. They can go. Not only do they have two of the best, but they've got so much depth there that they can rush the passer with, and they can get the inside pressure. Just we don't have to go into all of it now, but I just think they've got too much overall talent.
I'm excited. I think when you look at this game, you've got a guy in Andy Reid that has been known for his offensive craft. That's what he's that's what he goes by. I mean, whether or not you were an offensive-minded guy, you worked with some of the best quarterbacks. People took your advice. Even coaches in the league asked for your advice on quarterbacks and players like that. He's got one of the best to work with in Mahomes. The speed is outstanding for Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Travis Kelce might be the toughest guy in the NFL currently to guard, but San Francisco's got a defense that has the speed. They've got a really good defensive coordinator. They've got a really good team, and they're the best at what they do. I love seeing the best versus the best at what they're doing, and it's going to be an exciting week. Coming forward, we're going to talk the fourth quarter coming up. It's Talk Football with Coach K.
Hi, this is Bob Tyler from Bob Tyler Toyota. Proud to support our local sports community on Talk Football with Coach K. And you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Dude, it's game day, and I'm fired up that football is back.
I know, but I'm bummed they don't show my favorite team on TV around here.
All right, well, what about that place Calvert's? They're a really cool English pub-style restaurant, and they have a really good drink menu.
Yeah, but what about the game?
Don't worry, they have the NFL Sunday ticket and plenty of TVs, so we can watch any game that we want.
Ooh, I just looked at the menu, and that Abbey Road burger is calling my name.
Calvert's in the Heights Restaurant and Bar, 3102 East Urbana Street, calvertsintheheights.com.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
2020 is here. Can you believe it?
Yay, new year, new me.
I don't know about you, but I'm so excited. I got my new year started with a refi on my home with Harvesters.
Really? You're excited? I tried to talk to my credit union before the holidays, and they said it would be nearly 2 months before I could get started on mine.
Sounds like it's time to talk to the team at Harvesters.
Harvesters Federal Credit Union is here to make your home refi the New Year's resolution you know you can keep. Apply online, in person, or over the phone today with Harvesters Federal Credit Union.
Offering free appraisal and $500 closing cost credit through 131.
2020 is going to be your year, right? Join that gym, start that diet? Nah. How about getting out of that job and into a career? There are millions of unfilled cybersecurity positions in the U.S. right now, and My Computer Career is training people to fill them. No IT experience or education? No problem. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You could start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Welcome to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Pensacola's home to the best talk in sports, new and improved. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 and FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM.
Welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante alongside Coach K. Stevenson. Coach got the Senior Bowl down the road's got a number of players and a lot of coaches, Bill Belichick, Nick Saban out there hanging out, but good opportunity for them to come down. When a head coach goes down there, because a lot of the scouts, today we got so much personnel. We've been there covering it where a lot of times the teams that are coaching the Senior Bowl have almost their entire staff there because they're looking into it. But when it comes down to the coaches, what as a head coach are you looking for the most? That one big-time player, maybe the attitude of some of the players? What do you think a guy like Bill Belichick and those guys are soaking in? Now, Bill, into his mind, we'd all love to know, or we would have maybe 6 rings as well. But when it comes down to the minds of some of these coaches, what do you think the head coaches are looking for at the Senior Bowl?
Well, let me say this to outline the chances that you have to be significantly successful. The best chance you've got is to coach it. I coached it 1 year. Was a big advantage because you're around the players all the time, and you do get to know them. You get to know about their personality, their work habits, just virtually everything that you would want to know about them. You get to know how quickly they pick up on the offensive and defensive schemes and so on. If the next thing to that, the nearest thing to that is to be very good friends, close with someone who is coaching the game so that you get some inside and agree to share that information with you on the players. That would be next. And then third would be to be there, get close enough to the drills that you can hear the instructions, see that they do it right or wrong, all of the other little nuances that you would want to pick up. You get close to the drills, watch, observe everything that goes on, get around some of the scouts, talk to the scouts to get another point of view so that you get as many points of view as possible, help you make that final decision. And then you start putting all that together. And usually the coaches that are not involved in the game will go through the heavy practice days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then leave and go back home, leave their scouts there, or one or two scouts or sometimes more. And because you get film of the game, you get tape of the game. And then you get the tape and you take a look at it, obviously, and you put it together with what you have learned yourself and your scouts, and you have a pretty good rundown on players in the the Senior Bowl. That's why it's important for guys to go there. It's important for NFL coaches to go there, and it's always been a win-win situation. And hopefully too for the city of Mobile. So I really, really like the Senior Bowl and how it's done, how it's put on, how it's orchestrated.
Well, Coach, another great show. Looking forward to Paul Feinbaum next Wednesday. The Super Bowl coming right around the corner. Thank you again for another great week and the great interviews from Bill Polian to folks that we heard like Danny Sheridan and John Fox. It's been a great week, and looking forward to doing it again next week.
We look forward to it, as always, Chad. You bet.
All right. For Coach K. Stevenson, I'm Chad Brillante. We're coming back for more coming up. It'll be Stephen A. Smith and the Paul Feinbaum Show. Will be back with the Sports Drive at 5. Thanks for watching and listening to Talk Football with Coach K.
And 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, Sports Call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. After winning the national title, LSU coach Ed Orgeron is rewarded with a 6-year contract extension worth at least $42 million. The Tigers had a perfect 15-0 season, finishing with a win over previously unbeaten Clemson. Eli Manning makes it official today, announcing his retirement after 16 NFL seasons.
For most of my life, people have called me easy. Believe me, there is nothing easy about today. Wellington Mara always said, once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
Antonio Brown is now out on bail and wearing an ankle monitor after a hearing today on a felony burglary and battery charge in Florida. His bond was set at $110,000. In all, he faces 3 charges after an alleged assault on a truck driver this week. Browns running back Kareem Hunt was pulled over for speeding this week. Police found a small amount of marijuana in the vehicle.
Straight Talk Wireless runs on the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost. Get the unlimited plan with up to 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G for just $45 a month. No contract. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
First Take, your take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and of course, the ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. You guys get to get in on the fun on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Is Eli Manning's career overrated? That's what we're asking everybody on the heels of today's announcement that Eli Manning retired. He came out and spoke to the world today. Don't forget ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance as I continue to look through the mentions. Nobody here can agree with it. You can tweet me at Jason Fitz. Hashtag First Take also is a way to get in. We've got a poll. Nobody's ever done that before in the history of radio. We've got a poll that we'll read the results of at the end. Put it on the poll. JJ Rhetoric says not a lot of guys who've swept 3 road playoff games and then won Super Bowl MVP, and only one who's done it twice. Should be noted that, again, I'll say this as a Raiders fan, Jim Plunkett, 2 Super Bowls, 1 Super Bowl MVP, also not in the Hall of Fame. So, there's some validity to both sides. IU fan in Texas tweeted, Rick Gosselin, Hall of Fame voter, just said, quote, I saw Hall of Fame moments from Eli, but I don't know that I saw a Hall of Fame career. goes on with the quote. I've talked to several Hall of Fame voters over the last couple of weeks about Eli. There is not a consensus, and that's not uncommon. There usually isn't. What if, I know this is not like a hot take, but what if the hot take is that Eli is actually properly rated? What if Eli Manning is a quarterback that had sort of a borderline Hall of Fame career? He had some great moments that are so signature, and he had some bad moments that were so meh that he's just, meh is, by the way, a word in the dictionary. He's done so much of that he is just a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback, which would make him properly rated. He's not over or underrated. He's just sort of borderline. I want your thoughts on all of it. Is Eli Manning's career overrated? 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Brian in Washington, Eli's career, what do you think?
Hey, he got there to the Super Bowls. I mean, yeah, you could say his numbers don't really bear it out, but you're put on that stage. You're put up there and put in that position to carry through. How many quarterbacks will be seen wilt underneath that pressure, especially going against Brady and this juggernaut, and yet he comes through on that. That's got to, like you said, if it's borderline, well, that tips the scales for me, you know.
Well, and again, Super Bowls matter, but my argument, and I'm not trying to be redundant here, but my argument every time with Super Bowls is going to be Jim Plunkett, who had numbers that were not on par with many of what Eli's numbers were, but it was a different era. But again, 2 Super Bowl wins and a Super Bowl MVP and not in the Hall of Fame. So, you know, it's such an easy left and right comparison, and that's part of what I think makes this a really difficult answer for anybody. And by the way, keep chiming in, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Eli went to the podium today and gave us some of his thoughts on his career and sort of put it into his own words what all of playing in New York meant.
This sport has very few real farewells. But as the clock ran down on our win against the Dolphins this season, I ran to my favorite place in the stadium, the tunnel. I waved to our loyal fans, and then Abby and my kids ran out to meet me. That was my farewell, and a moment I'll cherish forever. There won't be any more tunnel moments for me, and I'll truly miss them. I'll miss standing in the shadows, staring out into the field before a game, surrounded by my teammates, and knowing all the hard work we put in. I'll miss hearing the first roar of the crowd, triggering the knowledge that we had been given one more opportunity to go win a football game. It's impossible to explain the satisfaction, actually the joy I've experienced being a Giant. From the very first moment, I did it my way. I couldn't be someone other than who I am. Undoubtedly, I would have made the fans, the media, even the front office more comfortable if I was a more rah-rah guy. But that's not me. Ultimately, I choose to believe that my teammates and the fans learned to appreciate that. They knew what they got was pure, unadulterated Eli.
So far, by the way, we've got a couple of polls out there. Is Eli Manning's career overrated? On Instagram, 74% of you. 74% say no on Instagram. That is a strong number. Not overrated. 74% of you can get out there at Jason Fitz. On Twitter, right now we're looking at about 67% say no. So far, overwhelmingly, everybody thinks that the career is not overrated as we try and figure out sort of what it all means. Now, I'll go back again to the panel today. There's an interesting moment for Max Kellerman and Stephen A. to be joined by 2 guys with a lot of perspective on this. One is ESPN NFL analyst Bart Scott, who had the opportunity to play against Eli, and the other is Giants legend Carl Banks, who obviously knows a Hall of Famer when he sees him. So when they had the debate about Manning's Hall of Fame career, it got interesting.
If he gets in, I'll be happy for him because he's class personified. He's a member of the First Family, and the class that he has exhibited on and off the field. I can't say enough about what I think about him as a person. But when I think Hall of Fame, I'm not looking at a person with a career 500 record at 117 and 117. A person that completed just 60% of his passes. A person that had a QBR of under 50 on 5 different occasions. A person that played 16 years in the National Football League and missed the playoffs 10 times. A person that, you know, when you look at what we've been seeing from him, yes, the 2 Super Bowls cannot be discounted. And that's why if he gets in the Hall, you can't knock it either. But when I think Hall of Famer and I think about all all of those numbers that I just threw out and the amount of time he spent outside of the playoffs instead of in it. You know, the 4 other years that he made the playoffs when he didn't win one single playoff game. The QBR under 55 times. The 60% completion percentage. The 244 interceptions. Not even a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. All of those different things. It's a team game. It's not entirely his fault. I get all of that. But when I think about Hall of Fame quarterbacks, there are so many guys with so many more impressive numbers. I look at Eli Manning as a very good player, an Iron Man that deserves our profound respect and appreciation for anybody in New York. But when I think Hall of Famer, I don't look at Eli Manning that way.
I sure do. Because, by the way, even if you want to call him a compiler, top 10 in yards and touchdowns and all that stuff in a passing era, do you know what you have to be a compiler? You have to be good enough to start in the NFL, and then you have to be good enough to stay or healthy enough to make all those plays. He's an Iron Man. That has a lot of value in itself. Let's start there. Now we get on to, like, what kind of level did he reach? Was he usually a top 5 quarterback? He may never have been a top 5 quarterback in any year, but there were plenty of years where he was top 10 and for a very long time. And then you look at, like, well, how many Pro Bowls did he make? Roethlisberger made 6. He made 4. And he's throwing in East Rutherford with the wind going every which way, and often without offensive weapons. Yeah. The Giants, when you gave him an offensive weapon like Plexico Burress, won you a Super Bowl. Now let's look at the high leverage moments, because if you're above average, it's like saying you're an above average point guard for 15 years. You might be in the Hall of Fame. Point guards in the NBA is a very competitive position. If you're an above average quarterback for 15 years, you never miss a snap. Guess what? You're already kind of in the conversation, particularly if you're a 4-time Pro Bowler. Let's look at high leverage moments. I brought this up the other day when Danny Glover in Predator 2 went into the spaceship, right? and you saw the pelts on the wall because he was the apex predator. Right. Eli Manning, under pressure, y'all, was the apex predator. You know what pelts he has on his wall? Oh, well, there's Alex Smith and Matt Ryan. But there's Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And there's Tom Brady twice, all on the road. That's what's so in the highest leverage moments, this dude was money. So you add it all up, above average, average to above average and sometimes excellent for a very long time, second longest Iron Man streak, playing in New York in bad weather conditions, frequently without weapons, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl MVP. You never have to buy a drink, by the way, if you're in a bar either, Carl Banks.
I just want to talk boxing with you.
Yeah.
Well, Carl, what do you think?
Well, I'm biased, obviously, but my lens is a little different than Stephen A's. I see a Hall of Fame quarterback. Mm-hmm. And how do I know he's a Hall of Fame quarterback? I don't have to look at his numbers. I played against 8 of them during the course of my career. I know what Hall of Fame performances look like. And when you can perform at the level he does in the playoffs, at the biggest moments, he's no shrinking violet. He was 10 toes down, ready to go when the lights came on. So you look at his biggest moments, who he defeated, the teams he beat, you say that's a Super Bowl, and that is an MVP, and that is a Hall of Fame performer.
You know, I think that's the key, is who he beat, because he stopped arguably the greatest team in history from joining that immortality, you know, with the Dolphins. But this is tough for me because I think that it's levels to the Hall of Fame. And I don't think that he's going to be a guy that's going to get in on his first, second, third time. I think he's a guy that's going to have to wait a while, but I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer, just because whenever you can put 2 Super Bowl, MVPs on your resume, I think compiled with the resume, the yards, and the consecutive streak, that you have to put him in there. But this is going to be a tough debate, because Deion came out the other day, was talking about he doesn't know what a Hall of Famer is. You can say he's a compiler. This is the same discussion we're going to have about Frank Gore in a couple of years from now, because he's a guy that's, moving up on that all-time list, because the best ability in this league is availability. Exactly. And we've seen great players come, and they were like supernovas. They were great for a short period of time, but they don't last long.
Try this one, Stephen A. Try this one. Try this one. Roethlisberger was available in that draft with Eli. They could have traded down. Instead, they traded up, right, from 4. They traded Phillip Rivers and what turned out to be Nate Kading and Sean Merriman for Eli. And as a Giants fan, I'm glad we did, and I'm glad we didn't take Roethlisberger, because there's also the off-the-field stuff. It's everything together. So if you can say that, how can you say he's not a Hall of Famer?
Well, because I don't have to subscribe to your kind of thinking. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Native New Yorker, who's been biased about Eli Manning for years, feeling the way that you feel, unapologetic about wearing your blue and white pom-poms, I'm being a bit more objective about it. And more importantly, what I am doing is deferring to football people who classified and clarified and defined what a Hall of Fame is. I didn't play in the NFL, Carl. You did. I didn't play in the NFL, Bart. You did. I listened to you and people like you talk about the Hall of Fame and what should be the criteria. It vacillates. There's no definitive judgment, scale or anything, and I totally get that. But as a non-football player, deferring to your expertise and what you've religiously stated throughout the years when talking about Football Hall of Famers you did not play with. I have religiously heard numbers being brought up. Sure, you take into account the level of competition, who they've beaten, but you've also took into account their consistency. You took into account their playoff appearances. You took into account numbers. And I'm saying when you look at Eli Manning, it's not about looking at the numbers and saying, oh, they're not good enough. It's about knowing whose numbers have been good enough.
First Take, your take on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. Look, there is no, as Stephen A. just said, there's no consensus. There's no big scale that you step on and suddenly it goes ding, 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 you're a Hall of Famer. So the question is Eli's career overrated? We've been taking your thoughts on it. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. John in New York, what do you think? Eli overrated?
Absolutely not. This man took two teams that probably shouldn't have won Super Bowls and beat the best team out there with not the greatest talent. And just for that fact, this guy deserves it. He made plays he needed to make, and he did the right thing.
Okay, so I'm not going to doubt that he was good in those. I'm going to pull this up because I'll never remember it without it. But let's at least look at this. In the playoff seasons where they went to the Super Bowl, he completed 63% of his passes, had 15 touchdowns, 2 picks. Absolutely great. In every other playoff, 54% of his passes total, 3 touchdowns, 7 picks total. When you look at his numbers, his quarterback rating in the 2 times they went to the Super Bowl, 100. His quarterback rating in all other playoff games, 61. So we're only remembering the 2 playoff runs. We're not even talking about the other playoff runs. You guys can vote. We've got a tweet. We've got a poll out there on Twitter at Jason Fitz. We got a poll on Instagram. Same thing at Jason Fitz. Eli, overrated? Tell us what you think. Also, don't forget after you've listened to us to tune into the ESPN Daily Podcast, bringing you a deep dive into a single story from one of ESPN's hundreds of reporters, presented by Dell Small Business. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily. Available wherever you enjoy your podcast. We'll get back to the Eli conversation, but there's another quarterback conversation also involving a team from the NFC East that all eyes have been on. And it comes back to, we all know with Andy Reid going back to the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, that he was there with the Eagles on a team that was expected to do a lot. They got to the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl, and there's been contentious moments between Donovan McNabb and T.O. ever since, the quarterback and the wide receiver. Well, in an interview with Bleacher Report, McNabb went off on T.O. This is a quote. T.O. doing sit-ups, he's doing push-ups, he's playing basketball, he's ordering pizza for the people out there. We're sitting there in training camp just like, you got to be kidding me. We're in our dorm rooms, and I'm just sitting there watching it on TV. In Bleacher Report article, he goes off basically calling T.O. a distraction. So T.O., as always today, went to Twitter to respond and said, quote, I can't wait to tell my story. I'm bringing popcorn, doing sit-ups, going to eat a couple of cans of chunky soup. This guy's a joke. Talk about I broke up the Eagles. Did you tell them you vouched for the Eagles to pay Westbrook, but not me? It's on. So it is on. I can't wait for all of this to play out in front of all of our eyes. That's where we are. Love the drama. In the meantime, Emmanuel Acho joined Stephen A. and Max Kellerman on the panel as they talked about whether or not Donovan McNabb was right to blame T.O. for the collapse of the Eagles.
T.O.'s also right to blame Donovan McNabb. They're both telling the truth. Just sad to say, but it's true. And I've had my issues with both of them over the years. Because of that. Acho, I mean, I was in Philadelphia for 17 years working for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I was in the middle of this story. They go to a Super Bowl one year, winning 13 games. They come back the next year, they win 6. Donovan McNabb had only played 9 games that season. I forgot what happened, what injury it was, but he only played 9 games that following season when they finished 6-10. And obviously, it was absolute chaos. Now, Here's where T.O., and Donovan never likes to hear this, but this is the absolute truth. Donovan religiously told the media, I don't get involved in player contracts. I don't speak. I don't get involved in any of that stuff. I'm not speaking up for anybody. What happened was he went against that to support Brian Westbrook, who obviously was his man, but they also shared the same agent at the time as well, if I remember correctly. And when Donovan McNabb spoke up for Brian Westbrook, that's when T.O. lost it. Because when T.O. was looking for his money, T.O., from my understanding, had communicated to Donovan McNabb looking for his support, which was when he learned that Donovan doesn't do that. So for Donovan to say that he doesn't do that, but then to go and do it for Brian Westbrook, that was a problem. According to the players in the locker room that I had spoken to that time, that was why some of them sided with T.O. to some degree. They all had love for both of them in their own